So, can I say something first before can Aisha stand up, please? I can't see her. I'm assuming she's standing up. Where are you at? Over there. All right, now I see you. She's my favorite teller. Can I just say that? There was at least 2 months that you should have won, in my opinion. So, she's excellent. It's unfortunate that she's not up here with the rest of us tonight. She deserved it. So, next year, Aisha, it's your year. You got it? It's your year. All of them. So, Undecided is the name of my story. I can't really see, but was anybody here in December when I told? A few people? Okay, has anybody heard my story on the internets, on the webs? A few? Okay, so you know the turning point in that story, and that's kind of the turning point in a lot of the stories in my life, and so it's probably going to be the turning point in this story again, so don't spoil the ending for people that know, or that don't know, that didn't hear my December story. So this no theme thing is really killing me. Thanks a lot, Laura. Thanks a lot, Darren, if he's out of the bathroom yet. But so I went with Undecided because I feel like it's tough to come up with a theme. I was pretty undecided on what I wanted to talk about and how that would fit into this undecided theme. And but Undecided has been kind of a theme that's happened for me throughout my life. I remember back to high school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't know who I wanted to be. I didn't know where I wanted to go. If you would have asked me when I was young what I wanted to do with my life, I probably would have said play football at Notre Dame, which didn't happen. I couldn't even be Rudy. So that didn't happen. I can remember my senior year sitting around the senior table in our commons and having people ask me what I wanted to do, where I was going to go to school, what I was going to study, and just saying, I have no idea. And then saying, well, what do you like to do? And I was like, I don't know, because I liked to play football, and I liked to go to the gym, and I liked to chase girls, and all of those things, and those don't translate to success in adult life or in college or any of those kinds of things. So I didn't really know, and even though I wasn't going to play football at Notre Dame, I really wanted to go to school at Notre Dame, and so I had this really fantastic application, and I scored really well on my ACTs, and I had a recommendation from Byron Dorgan, and just was like really pumped about going to Notre Dame, and they never got my application. So by the time we figured it out, winter storms and U.S. Postal Service and all that garbage, they never got my application. So by the time we figured it out, I had applied to one other school, and that was the University of Minnesota. So I went to the University of Minnesota because I didn't know what else to do. That was the only place that I had been accepted. And it didn't matter because I didn't know what I was going to do anyways. So I had 3 majors before I ever even started. When I applied to be a kinesiology major, which is the study of human motion. And then I was going to be a math major, which I'm glad I didn't stick with that because calculus was really hard. And then I decided that I was going to be a landscape architect because I worked for a landscaping company all through high school, and I thought, I can do that. That's cool. And then I got to school and decided that I didn't really want to be in Minneapolis, and I wanted to be closer to this girl that I thought I was in love with. And so I transferred to NDSU, who also had a landscape architecture program. So I transferred into that program and got into it and just realized that that wasn't the direction that I wanted to go with my life. So decided at that point that I wanted to be a home ec teacher. So I know I fit the stereotype, right? You guys knew exactly what was coming on that one. All the cooking and sewing and child development and all of that stuff was just right up my alley. Why doesn't anybody believe that? But it's true, I was a home economics major when I was at NDSU. And the other thing that I learned when I was at NDSU, once I got into that, I got a job working for NDSU doing something called the CORE team, the Conference Orientation and Recruitment team. And before that, I had no idea that people worked at colleges. And that seems like a really strange thing to think about, because obviously a lot of people work at colleges, but I thought, okay, people who work at colleges are professors or they're graduate assistants or they're football coaches. There really isn't anything else. Those are the only things that you can do if you work at a college. And then I got this job with them and realized that you could actually have a job where you work at a college. So I stuck with the education major, got to the end of it and realized, I'm not going to use this to teach. So instead of graduating with my home economics education, or family and consumer science education for the politically correct in the room, I decided I wasn't going to graduate that, and I didn't want to student teach because all I heard was that was hell. So I switched to something called university studies, which for most students, you do that in your first 1, maybe 2 years when you don't know what you want to do. I was in my 5th year and didn't know what I wanted to do. My coworkers are just hamming it up over there. Remember, I'm your boss, Toby. So anyways, I switched to being a university studies major, which basically just means you're undecided. And I stayed in college long enough to have enough credits to graduate. And I was clever enough that I could write a paper saying, this is what I want to do with all of these credits that I have that are enough to graduate. And so they let me graduate, which was really nice of them. So I had sort of figured out at that point that I wanted to work with college students. And I didn't know how to make that happen. People at NDSU had told me, oh, you got all this experience. Don't worry about getting your master's. Get a job first, then get your master's, which wasn't true. Get your master's first if you want to work at a college. And it wasn't until about 3 months into my job search that a woman at Creighton University in Nebraska told me, yeah, you should really get your master's first. We have this great master's program if you want to come here. And I was like, no, I'm going to get a job first. So the first and only job that I got offered that right out of college was at a small school in Mitchell, South Dakota. And there's a few people that are here tonight, actually, that I met through that school, which is really exciting for me. There's all of these people like from throughout my lifeline, which is just really exciting. So I went to Mitchell, South Dakota, and I was a hall director. For those of you Res Life folks in the room, and Res Life was also not for me. In fact, I've had some really negative stretches in my life where I've been, sort of depressed and frustrated. The worst of those was when I was a hall director in Mitchell, South Dakota. I'm not going to mention the name of the school, but there's not a lot of schools in Mitchell, South Dakota, so you could probably figure it out. At any rate, I still just didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And I had been involved with this Christian ministry while I was in college. And again, a lot of you that know me now are probably like, what, he was involved with Christian ministry? What? Yeah, I was. And so I had moved back to Fargo, and I took a job as an ice cream store manager for a little while, which was, again, not... At one point, my manager, or the owner of the business, pulled me aside, and he said to me, the bus is leaving, and if you want to be on the bus, you can stay on the bus, but you got to make a decision about whether you want to be on the bus or not. I gave him my resignation letter the next day because I didn't want to be on the ice cream bus. So I started thinking about, okay, can I go and work for that ministry that I was involved with? Again, I'm not going to name names or anything like that. But I went and got involved with this ministry and started volunteering with them, and also started operating an embroidery machine. Again, just the perfect career choice for me, right? Makes perfect sense that John, the former football player with the beard and the earrings and the tattoos and things, is going to go operate an embroidery machine and sew all day. So I went and did that for a while I was trying to volunteer and go on staff with this organization. It was a great organization. They took very good care of me and brought me in, and they were going to let me shape the spiritual lives of college students, which was interesting, right? So I went to their new staff orientation in Madison, Wisconsin. And while I was there, here comes the twist that all of you guys are going to remember from my previous story. When I was there in the middle of this this training where they're just praying over you and encouraging you and just telling you all the great things that God's going to do in your life and the things that you're going to do on campus, and you're going to change the world and you're going to change people's lives and blah, 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 blah. And then my life changed with a phone call when this young lady that I was acquaintanced with called me and said, hey, just so you know, I think I'm pregnant. And I thought, okay, this is great. I've got 4 more days of this new staff orientation. I can't tell anyone here what's going on because you know how it is. And I also have to write a resignation letter. Because if I don't write a resignation letter, they're going to ask me to resign, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to be forced out of this. So from Madison, I had to take this god-awful long road trip from Madison, Wisconsin to Missoula, Montana, with some stops along the way. I had to go to a family wedding. Part of the stretch of that was in a car with my uncle, who's a pastor in South Dakota, who wanted, again, to talk about all the great things and wonderful things that God was going to do through me and on the college campus and all of this stuff. While I'm in my brain just thinking, I can't. I'm done. My career in ministry is over. That's it, before it ever even started. And so I can't tell him because I haven't told anybody else. I had told Justin, one of my best friends who's here tonight, and my friend Ryan. They were the first two people that I told outside of this girl that told me. So, yeah, she knew before me. How crazy is that? So I had, traveled this trip, and I got to Missoula and started telling my family, and the response was great, as it should be. It was very positive. It was encouraging, and they took it really well. And I got home, and I went to my regional director or area director and turned in my letter of resignation, and the response was also very positive and very encouraging. And in fact, they didn't accept my resignation for almost 5 months. And it got to the point where I just had to say, I really appreciate that you guys are being very encouraging and very supportive. I need you to leave me alone for a little while so that I can get all of this figured out and decide, again, what am I going to do with my life? Because I was very still undecided. I didn't know what to do. But again, I just kept coming back to this idea of I really, really want to work with college students. And I had to get my crap together, shit together. This is a swearing event, right, Laura? My mom might hear this, so I have to. I haven't let her hear the December one yet still. So anyways, so I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I decided that college was still the direction for me. And there was this, and this isn't a pitch for Globe, so please don't think that that's what this is, even though that's where I work. This is not a story about them. But there was this other little school in town that I just thought, I don't want to work there. But I applied, and they gave me a chance. And I started out there answering phones. I was an administrative assistant, basically, and I thought that I was so much better than that. And I thought, I have a bachelor's degree from NDSU, and I'm answering the phones at this little hole-in-the-wall school. But they believed in me, and they were encouraging to me, and they took me in, and they embraced me with all of my warts and my wounds and all of the things that I couldn't make up my mind about. But they pushed me, and they recognized the potential that I had in myself, and they invested time in me, and they paid for my master's degree, and all of those things that I had hoped would happen out of college anyways when I got my first job. And this wasn't my first, this was my fourth or fifth job down the road. But they just invested in me and took really good care of me, and it just meant so much. And the ministries that I had been involved in, they blew my mind, because I just expected so much to be a pariah and to be singled out and to be treated poorly, and I wasn't. And that meant so much to me because, again, they believed in me, and they loved me and cared about me. There were certainly individuals that did not. There were certainly individuals that hurt my feelings and that didn't want anything to do with me anymore. Some of them in my own family, some of them in the young lady's family. But it didn't matter. The most important part of this story is that there comes these trigger points in our lives where stuff happens and we get to make decisions. And sometimes we make decisions to continue down that crummy path of being undecided and not just choosing something. And at some point I had to just say to myself, no, this is the path that I want to be on. I don't want to be running an embroidery machine for the rest of my life, making $8.50 an hour, even though that was awesome. Because I could stay out all night and just come to work in the morning, put my headphones on, and just go to work and not care about anything. But I didn't feel fulfilled. It wasn't right for me. And I had to make that decision to get on a path where I would feel fulfilled. And here I am 8 years later, doing something that I absolutely love. And I couldn't be more happy. And I made a decision back in November to come to the tell for the first time. And then in December made the decision to tell for the first time. And again, just another decision that changed my life, because this is an awesome community. And when I got interviewed by Fox News earlier, I got to tell them what an awesome community this is and what a great group of people come to this every month, and how refreshing and encouraging and loving and supportive this community is. And I'm not undecided anymore. I'm going to stay in Fargo, and I'm going to stay doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to keep coming to the tell. And it's not a question of indecision anymore, because I'm home. Thanks.